Hey guys, Mike here, and welcome to True Genius, the show where we unpack the true genius behind some of the world's most popular and underrated pop culture. This week, we are talking one of my favorite movies of all time, and this definitely fits into the underrated category because this movie I genuinely think is one of the funniest movies ever written. It is such a joy and a delight to watch and actually has a really interesting history behind it. So this is the true genius behind Disney's 2000 animated comedy film, The Emperor's New Groove. Let's do it.
Oh yeah.
Before we get into today's episode, I would love to ask you to subscribe, check out some of my other True Genius videos in this series, as well as my other pop culture videos over on my channel. And as well as that, I would love for you to subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/RadioMike. Send $1 my way every month and help me keep the lights on here. Alright, enough of that stuff, let's get into The Emperor's New Groove. So even though its title bears a resemblance to the fairy tale The Emperor's New Clothes, The Emperor's New Groove isn't really derivative of that at all. In fact, it might surprise you to know that The Emperor's New Groove was originally titled Kingdom of the Sun, and wasn't actually a boundary-pushing, fourth wall-breaking comedy film at all. In fact, it was kind of going down the more traditional Disney route originally. It was a musical film about an emperor in an Incan society who swapped places with a peasant. And it's interesting to place The Emperor's New Groove historically in when it was in Disney's lifespan. The Emperor's New Groove was actually the first animated Disney film to come out in the 21st century in the year 2000. Okay, so technically this movie, Dinosaur, came out before it and does count, but no one remembers this movie. Seriously, has anyone seen this movie? Does anyone remember it? I feel like even Disney likes to pretend that this movie didn't happen. At this point in time, Disney had kind of been through a second golden age, or what is known by Disney fans and historians as the Renaissance era of Disney films. And we're talking 90s kids classics like The Lion King, Tarzan, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, Mulan, all of those fantastic animated Disney musicals from the 90s. And after the commercial failure of Dinosaur, that forgotten movie I mentioned earlier, you've got to admit that the pressure must have been on for Disney to maintain this acclaim and commercial success. But Kingdom of the Sun, which would eventually become The Emperor's New Groove, was being mishandled, mismanaged, and the production was halting and struggling a lot. In fact, the movie in this iteration came very, very close to being scrapped entirely by Disney. Eventually, the movie was reworked into The Emperor's New Groove and became the cult classic that it is today.
Boom, baby!
And if you haven't seen the film, here's a quick recap of what happens. It follows this guy, Emperor Cusco, who is the greedy and self-absorbed emperor of an Incan empire.
Oh yeah, everything was going my way.
But his advisor, Yzma, wants to be the emperor, so she tries to poison him, but accidentally turns him into a llama, one of the most common South American domestic animals.
I'm the emperor, and you're the emperor's advisor.
And I think this is the first important thematic thing here, because a lot of kids wouldn't realize the commentary that this is kind of making. You see, Cusco goes from a rich emperor to suddenly being a llama, literally an animal that peasants use for wool and meat. You know, a domestic common animal. He literally goes from a rare emperor to the most common domestic animal of all. It's an enormous juxtaposition for him. As well as that, The Emperor's New Groove continues to critique wealth and selfishness through the introduction of the character Pacha, who is a llama-herding peasant that is essentially the complete opposite of Cusco. While Cusco is self-absorbed and constantly unsatisfied, wanting more and more with his life, Pacha is poor and basic. He has a wife, he has 2 kids, but he's happy and satisfied with his life.
No, you two can stay up. We're just gonna be sitting here telling each other how much we love each other. Right, honey?
Good night.
But when Cusco announces that he plans on building his new holiday resort in Pacha's village, tension begins to rise.
Booyah! Welcome to Cusco-topia, my ultimate summer getaway, complete with water slide.
And Cusco has to learn the lesson that friendship is more important than money, wealth, fame, and everything else. It's a pretty cliche lesson at the end, but that's not the true genius of The Emperor's New Groove. None of this is the true genius of The Emperor's New Groove. But we'll get to that in a sec. I mean, it is the title of the series, so you'd hope so. The Emperor's New Groove is also an expertly casted film. You've got Cusco, voiced by David Spade, whose voice is brash, it's impatient, it's youthful, it totally epitomizes Cusco as a character. Pacha is voiced by John Goodman, who would later go on to voice Sully in Monsters, Inc., and his voice is deep, mature, calm, comforting. It embodies the character of Pacha. Eartha Kitt voices Yzma. She's piercing, she's strong, but she's also slightly rambling. But, and this is where the true genius of The Emperor's New Groove begins. The final character, who I haven't mentioned yet, is Kronk, voiced by Patrick Warburton, perhaps better known as Joe Swanson in Family Guy, whose voice is bumbling, grumbling, but lovable.
My shoulder angel.
Don't listen to that guy. He's trying to lead you down the path of righteousness. I'm gonna lead you down the path that rocks.
And realistically, Kronk is part of what makes The Emperor's New Groove true genius. Kronk is the shining part of this film, and I would argue one of the best written comedic characters in any Disney film or any animated film, full stop.
Oh, right. The poison for Cusco. The poison chosen specially to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. That poison?
Yes, that poison.
Got you covered.
Kronk is Yzma's assistant. He's delightfully bumbling, he's blissfully unaware of Yzma's villainy, and he's the comedic heart of the entire film.
What do you say, Cusco?
Whoa, no touchy. No touchy. No touch.
And while previous Disney films certainly had comedic elements and characters like Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King,
What'd you do, kid?
Something terrible, but I don't want to talk about it.
Good, we don't want to hear about it.
Genie from Aladdin, Mushu from Mulan, the difference is that they weren't comedy films, whereas The Emperor's New Groove was different. It was straight up trying to be a comedy.
Pull the lever, Kronk.
And I think this is where we start tapping into the true genius of this film. You see, Kingdom of the Sun, the failed first iteration of The Emperor's New Groove, did intend on following the structures of all the movies I mentioned before. A musical Disney animated film like The Lion King, Mulan, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, all of those. And often in filmmaking, a stalled production or a poor production landscape and climate can totally ruin a film. Often they can just go ahead, rush, and finish it and put out something that isn't really true to the original vision and just doesn't hold up. But it's more valuable to just get it out and try and sell the film than actually make a good film. But that's not what happened with The Emperor's New Groove. Instead, the writers of this film turned it into a movie that is acutely aware of its flaws. It's wacky, it's weird, and it's the result of production issues. The characters in this film are aware that they are in a film. They constantly break the fourth wall. It's ironic to say the least. And to this day, I have never seen an animated film or a children's movie take advantage of this feature of fourth wall breaking to the same degree of success. In fact, I can't actually think of a movie that uses fourth wall breaking at all in this way. And if you can, leave it in the comments below. I'd really like to watch it. And sometimes when I'm watching The Emperor's New Groove, you kind of are left to wonder whether the production issues led to some of these fourth wall breaking comedic genius moments, because maybe they were scrambling to come up with answers to plot holes and solutions to problems that they just didn't have time to solve. And this fourth wall breaking can be seen throughout the entire movie. Take the start of the film where we see Emperor Cusco as a llama crying in the rain, only for a voiceover to explain that...
That's right, I'm that llama.
And later in the film, when we actually reach that moment of the story, the on-screen Kuzco and the narrator Kuzco actually begin to have a conversation with each other, totally ignoring the rules of how this is working.
I didn't do anything, and they ruined my life and took everything I had. Hey, give it a rest up there, will you? What? I'm just telling them what happened. Who are you kidding, pal? They saw the whole thing. They know what happened.
True to his own character, the off-screen Kuzco actually pauses the film at one point to make sure the viewer of the movie remembers that this is a movie all about him.
Hi, excuse me. 2 seconds here. I'm the one in the car, remember? This story's about me, not him. Okay, you got it? All right, we're gonna move ahead. Sorry to slow you down.
And even in this scene where Kronk drops what he believes is Kuzco down a huge waterfall, the camera begins to pan out, seemingly to show us, the viewer, how far this drop actually is. However, in the true meta comedic styling of the film, the camera zooms out one step too far, leading to this interaction from Kuzco.
What's with the chimp and the bug? Can we get back to me?
Or even this moment where the film borrows devices in films. We see on a map where each team of characters is running towards the end. Suddenly, those map markers appear on the actual ground below them. When Yzma and Kronk fall into a crevice but still arrive at the laboratory before Kuzco and Pacha, this interaction takes place.
No, it can't be. How did you get back here before us?
How did we, Kronk?
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Oh well, back to business.
And that moment really shows the true genius of The Emperor's New Groove, because this film, this self-referential meta film, its comedic styling is about ignoring issues and adapting. It's about going along with problems that come up and coming up with solutions for them. All of the characters accept that Yzma and Kronk simply got there before Kuzco and Pacha. They don't ask any more questions about this logical inconsistency that the film provides, and that coming up with solutions on the fly seems to be the way that The Emperor's New Groove ended up coming into fruition in the first place. And that is the true genius of The Emperor's New Groove. It's not about the message that the movie is trying to give to children about being a more kind and considerate and caring person, which is what Kuzco eventually learns at the end. Nor is it even really about the story or its critique of wealth or royalty. The true genius of The Emperor's New Groove is its ability to adapt, literally from being the Kingdom of the Sun film to The Emperor's New Groove. Its ability to create incredible, comedic, fourth wall breaking moments that I've never seen done anywhere else. This movie was, at its heart, a comedy, unlike pretty much any Disney film before it. And some of this comedy is really sharp and well written. It's often expertly delivered by voice actors, particularly David Spade and Patrick Warburton, and it holds up so well today. Seriously, this movie is really fun to watch. The creators of The Emperor's New Groove adapted. They continued working on something to make it better, even when they thought they couldn't salvage it. And that's the true genius of The Emperor's New Groove. So what did you think of The Emperor's New Groove? Let me know in the comments below. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree? Again, comments below, thumbs up the video, subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna be doing these videos, True Genius videos, once a week. So also comment something you might like to hear me analyze in the same way I did with The Emperor's New Groove. Aside from that, check out some of my other videos, subscribe, all the rest, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.